Or the answer is not to put the federal government in place of stopping all new technological innovation, because you know what? Our enemies are not going to stop.
Yeah, which we've talked about that on this podcast. I feel like insert like old clip of me talking about China.
That's what he said. China is not going to stop. Which, you know, who definitely uses facial recognition?
Yeah.
China.
You gotta let it down, 'cause you can run wherever now.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm muted, right? And you're not muted. That's correct.
Well, we are the same person.
That always confuses me, and I don't think I'll ever get it, to be honest with you.
Me and you are the same machine.
I still never understand it. It's fine. It's okay. That's why we did a test.
That's a...
Okay. Look, it has been so long.
I know. Destiny tried to fill in, and she did a fine job.
She did a good job. We're recording.
We are?
Yeah.
Well, there's a reel for you.
Cut it off there. All right. Well, hi guys. Welcome back to the Work Wherever podcast. It has been a really long time.
It has been a long time.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Sid. Sorry, I'm like, I'm reading this article.
We're just not paying attention.
I'm like reading this article that we're talking about today because we haven't talked about articles in so long because you haven't been here. It's just been me by myself.
Busy. I know.
Well, I mean, what have you been doing other than getting new last names and moving? And
I literally haven't been on since I got married. Went to Costa Rica, got married, and moving again.
Yeah, third time.
Yeah, I'm so like...
It's fun, right?
No, it's not fun. It's not fun. When it's not your final destination, it is not fun.
Zero fun.
I'm just moving my... I will say that I've gotten my contents of my house like down to like the bare minimum.
You're ready to move.
Like, well, there's no trash, I mean. Like, I like my decorations and stuff, but like, there's no like random garbage or things I don't need. Like, everything I have, I use.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I got it down to a science.
That was not how we moved here. We brought all the crap with us.
Really?
It was all
packed
up. And we still, I mean, you come to my house, you see all the boxes. And we've been here for 2 years.
Oof.
So it's a thing. Now, most of the time, like when you're moving, you're like, oh, we need this. We have to have this. Or what about what if we have another kid? Or what if, and then you get here and you're like unpacking it and you're like, this is literal trash.
I didn't. You just pick a day you go through, and if you see something that you haven't seen in 2 years, clearly you haven't needed it. So just throw it away.
Right.
Or sell it on Facebook.
There's a tech lesson in there somewhere too. Archive your documents out there, people that are taking up all your storage. There's a tech lesson in there.
Did you read my guidebook I made?
I haven't yet. I bet it's impressive. Maybe we'll have to put that together as a downloadable.
It's all about archiving documents.
Is it downloadable worthy?
I mean, I think it's good. I wrote it.
You wrote it? Give me the gist of it. This is not what we're talking about today, but I do want to hear about it.
Well, I wrote it with the assistance of ChatGPT.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me the general overview.
Well, so it's a document organization guidebook, right? So it tells you best practices for storing your documents within whatever you use. Mostly SharePoint is kind of what it's focused on, but...
And you say that you use ChatGPT, which you did, I'm sure. But
I did.
You also used another document that we had already been using internally. My document, right?
Yeah.
Right? A little bit.
It takes up like half a page. But I definitely went like further in depth.
You go deep dive.
Oh, yeah. So like naming conventions, like metadata.
Yeah.
Had to do that.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Getting rid of like multiple versions of things.
We'll have to put that up on Go Work Wherever so people can download it and see your hard work.
If Roy approves it.
I do have to prove it. It's on my sprint.
I know you need to do that so I can do a story.
Which ends tomorrow.
Yeah, well, my story's next sprint to make it look nice. So.
Make it look pretty?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. It's like 5 pages. It's pretty easy.
That's pretty good.
And bullets.
Well, look out for that downloadable, guys and gals.
Yeah.
Because that'll be a fun one. Cleaning up, fall cleaning, spring cleaning, whatever, is something you should always be doing if you're an organization. So what we're talking about today, we haven't talked about, since we haven't gotten together in so long, I was like, what haven't we talked about?
Everything.
And we have a interview with a guest, Spike Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys don't know who Spike Cohen is, he was the vice presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party during the 2020 election. Joe Jorgensen was the president. He was the VP. He's very outspoken. He's been all over the media.
And he's been on before, right?
Yeah, we've had him on.
Okay.
We've had him and Joe Jorgensen on during the 2020 cycle. We had the presidential nominee and the VP on. And he was a great guest. So if you guys want to check out his prior podcast, it was really good. He actually comes from the tech industry. He was a web developer and had his own web design company prior to his life in politics. So he's an entrepreneur. A great guy. It'll be a great interview. Obviously, the libertarians have a very interesting perspective on government regulation. And so I'm very interested to hear his take on it. And I figured, okay, well, if we're going to talk to Spike about it, I obviously want the podcast to be about his take. But like, let's set the floor a little bit as to what some of the big stories that have happened this year around facial recognition. And back in January, so almost a year ago, New York City and Madison Square Garden ran into this facial recognition, which is probably the biggest facial recognition story of the year, really. And so I was like, you know what, let's bring that up because I'll probably talk to Spike about it. We're going to be talking about AI regulation. We're going to be talking about, and facial recognition is a big part of it, AI, at least how the public has been seen. Now, since then, ChatGPT has really taken over, and there's been all kinds of things that we'll talk about. But Madison Square Garden used facial recognition to ban its owner's enemies. So there were...
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know anything about this article.
Yeah. So outside of New York, it wasn't really that big of a story. I mean, there was like a lot going on this year around artificial intelligence and facial recognition. And so I'll get into kind of a precursor of this, but Madison Square Garden, which is where the Knicks play, it's where the Rangers play. I mean, it's like the mecca of basketball. It's right there I think it's in Manhattan. And so the owner of the arena in Radio City Music Hall has put lawyers who represent people suing it on an exclusion list to keep them out of the concerts and sporting events. And so it goes on and it talks about this woman, Kelly Conlon, who she's 44. She's a personal injury lawyer from Bergen County, New Jersey. She was chaperoning her 9-year-old daughter's Girl Scout troop on a trip into Manhattan to see the Christmas spectacular at Radio City Music Hall, rather. And before she even got to see the Rockettes and everything like that, she was pulled aside by security saying that they knew who she was, they knew who she worked for, and that she had to leave. And so, there's this whole interview about it. There's this article from the New York Times, that talks about it. And so New York, instead of dealing with this guy individually, bans or proposes a bill to ban facial recognition software from organizations and businesses using it. They're like, nope, we'll just ban it across the board. Well, there's a ton of small businesses that are using it because, I don't know if you know this, but crime has been on the rise.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know.
This is the thing. And in mostly blue cities, if you imagine that. That's weird, right? Isn't that weird?
Shocking.
So
groundbreaking.
Businesses, to combat this, have installed cameras with facial recognition because a lot of small businesses got together, created a database of known criminals and people had stolen from them, right? And then they were able to query that database of people who had stolen in some other business to see that if they come into their business, to stop them before they start grabbing things off the shelves and running out, right? So it was put in place to prevent criminal activity happening in their stores.
Sure.
Well, this bill, not only does it stop Madison Square Garden, which I think we can agree that there's a little bit different than stopping somebody from stealing your stuff and stopping a lawyer who is suing you or somebody you don't agree with from entering in.
Was it her personally or just like her law firm?
So she represents somebody who was suing them.
That's so
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So that gets into there's a whole lot at play there. So if you work for somebody, so let's say I have done something that pisses somebody off. You work for me.
Right.
I would never do anything that piss anybody off, right? Gosh, what a far stretch we have to do here. But you work for me. So somebody could use facial recognition to say, Sydney works for Roy. Let's say they really want to get back at me.
Sure.
You go to a concert. Who's the artist you like?
You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I thought for sure that would be such an easy.
I like the elevators.
The elevators.
They're obscure, but I'm going soon.
Whatever. I'll use them. So the elevators, and let's say you go to like the 9:30 club, right? To see.
I will never go there again.
No. Okay.
I regress, but.
Let's say for some
I got what you're saying.
unknown reason, Sydney wants to go back to the.
I'm probably definitely banned from the 9:30 club. Actually, now that I
you
think
are
about
now.
it.
So this podcast gets out. 9:30 club hears
example.
it. They hear us talking about the 9:30 club and how you'll never go back. I haven't been in so long, but anyways.
Don't.
You want to go see the elevators. They hear the podcast. The facial recognition spots Sydney. And they say, you know what? You said you would never come back here. Now you're not allowed in. Because you said this on a podcast.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that legal? It's pretty discriminatory, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like unless there's like legal
here, right?
action, like legally they're not allowed back there, like they've actually been banned, like yeah then it's just like
what are you doing?
That's just your own opinion.
Now that's very different than, hey Sydney, you stole
right
this at this other place.
Because then it's like legal.
Right.
It's a legal thing.
So New York bans this technology altogether. They introduce a bill to say, hey, you can't. Government steps in. You can't do it.
I feel like there's lots of places in New York that would be like important though.
You'd think.
I'm not against
Now, do you
it.
think the government is allowed to use facial recognition software?
I don't know if they're allowed to, but I'm sure they do.
Right. So
yeah, I'm sure they do all the time.
So this is like an instance of legal for some, illegal. You know, you are not one of us. You are not special. We know what's best for you. So we can use this AI recognition, facial recognition software to protect us.
Sure.
But you can't use it to protect you. Instead of them dealing with the Madison Square Garden owner and saying, hey, dude, that's discrimination.
Right.
You can't do that. You can keep your cameras and use it for keeping thieves out or somebody who is a known criminal. But you cannot do it for X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So there's a super gray line. And now those of us who are, calling for government regulation, by the way, I'm not one of them, but those are the people who are calling for the government regulation on artificial intelligence. I do think we should pump the brakes and understand it and maybe throttle back a little bit. But government regulation to anything, I think, is bad.
There was an article I sent you yesterday, or maybe the day before.
It was about government regulation.
It's about Ted Cruz and what he had to say about it. I'll pull it up.
Okay. So it's a very interesting topic of discussion. And we're having Spike on to talk about this. And I can't wait to talk to him about it because it's been a year, from my understanding, since he's really talked about it. Because he talked about it, well, less than a year because it was January, but it was the beginning of this year, springtime, spring of 2023, where Spike was originally talking about it. And his original stance was government shouldn't get involved, go after this one guy. He's the bad guy here. Don't let everyone punish.
Right.
Since then, we've seen a lot happen in artificial intelligence that will completely change the world. And I wonder if it changes his stance at all to say, are we saving humanity and who should do it?
Did you hit on it at all last time you talked to him?
We didn't really talk about regulation.
It wasn't really a thing. Well, AI in general.
Last time we talked, AI was not a big topic of discussion.
This was 2020.
2020. A lot of what we were talking about was government regulations and government interference, but it had nothing to do with artificial intelligence at that time.
Sure.
That was a little bit facial covering more so than facial recognition. Yeah, it was.
That wouldn't even been like a thing.
Yeah, we talked
about. It would not even have been possible.
Right. We talked about everything that was going on in 2020, So it was like a very different conversation to be had. We were talking about small businesses and ways that they could innovate to get around some of the mandates and ways that they could stay afloat and stay in business. It wasn't like, how do you use this technology that you can tell who all the criminals are? It was like, how do you stay in business? How do you stay open?
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting topic of discussion. I'm looking forward to it. We're obviously going to get more into it next week when we talk with Spike. But I did want to talk about this with you because, one, we haven't talked about this something in a while. And I figured this would be a good one to talk about before we talk about Spike.
Yeah. I brought up this article. It's from, I think, like 2 days ago. It's Ted Cruz. He said, I think it's a bizarre suggestion to have federal government step in a heavy-handed regulatory regime.
Yeah.
Talking about AI.
I agree. I mean, that's my stance on it. For now.
He said balance of power. The answer is not to put the federal government in place of stopping all new technological innovation, because you know what? Our enemies are not going to stop.
Yeah, which we've talked about that on this podcast. I feel like insert like old clip of me talking about China.
That's what he said. China is not going to stop. Which, you know, who definitely uses facial recognition.
Yeah.
China.
So we did an episode like a year ago where I said that exact same thing. So Teddy, thank you for listening to the podcast, where I talked about, I think it was like one of the first podcasts we did, where I was like, look, if we ban AI regulation in this country, okay, and we say you can't build with AI, guess who's not going to listen? China. China's going to build a whole bunch of bots. They're going to come and take us over. We're all speaking Chinese. China's the global superpower. China wins. Bad for America. Okay. And then I said, well, flip side, let's say that we put nothing in place and we're like, here, innovate at the speed of whatever you can do. We have runaway artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence turns into Terminator. Terminator says, we're the bad guys. Bad for America. Bad for the world. I said that a year ago.
You did?
I would love to see the right? I'm probably wearing something
I'll see
similar.
if I can find it.
Right, I'm probably wearing something similar to what I'm wearing right now. Sitting in this exact same seat. How about that? But that's a real conversation piece. I think that we'll talk about Spike. I think artificial intelligence should be treated like nuclear power. Like, you be careful with it. Now, is there a total ban on nuclear power? No, there's power plants all over the place. I think what's the lake near us? There's a big lake, Lake Anna.
There's a nuclear power plant?
Yeah. Why do you think
Really?
There's a warm side of the lake and a cool side of the lake?
I don't know. I've never been, but
The warm side of the lake is nuclear.
oh,
Yeah, the fish got a couple more eyes over there.
the radiation.
Yeah,
over
a
there.
little bit of that. So be careful swimming on
Radiating
the
the
warm
water.
side. But yeah,
Yikes.
it's a real thing. Well, yeah, I mean,
Weird.
I'm excited about, you're going to be on the interview with Spike, right?
Tomorrow?
Yeah,
Well, it's happening for us tomorrow.
for us.
Yeah, if you want me to.
Well, I would, if you want to be on it, then, if not, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but I think everybody listening wants you to be on it. Throw in there. But, well, guys, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. Check out the interview with Spike. We'll get his take on it. We are well, what's your take on it? What do you think? Regulation?
Regulation, yeah, not full stoppage.
Not full stoppage.
Right.
Just, hey, you can't use this, or you got to feed it this API, or what's your version of regulation?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows that's
We
the
should
problem.
all talk about it, right? Yes? It's open for discussion. TBD, right? Well, cool. Well, thanks, guys, for hanging out. Share this out. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. Like and subscribe. We don't run any ads on this podcast. Hopefully we never will. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars on this podcast. And I pay Sydney to come sit down here and talk to me. This is a full operation we have here. And
That's all he pays me for.
we make zero money off
to
of
be
it.
friends.
So share this out so we can keep doing them. That is if you like them. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Anything else, Sid?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Until next time, guys. See you.
See ya.
Hey there! Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for all the latest videos from Capital Presence.